Welcome back to the Tool Crib. In my initial overview of the Leatherman P2 and P4, I had mentioned that you should be able to make your Leatherman P4 ambidextrous. So if you're left-handed, you should be able to make both of your blades access left-handed and vice versa for right-handed. I had one of my subscribers, Mr. Chris Davis, who has a Leatherman P2, and he tried to switch the orientation of his knife blade and his scissors around, but he was having trouble with the scissors not seeming to function correctly. Now, I didn't switch the orientation on the P2, but I did do it on the P4, and I'd like to show it to you now. So I have switched the orientation of the main blade to be left-hand accessible, and I don't have any issue with the lockup, don't have any issue with side-to-side. Tool folds and opens perfectly. And then on the other side, this was not switched, and there's my serrated blade, and it operates left-handed as well. Now, also in my first video, I had mentioned the fact that if you are left-handed and you switch the orientation of your knife blade and your scissors around, that you would lose access to the tension bar, and so in order to get the scissors out, you would have to roll the interior tools out and then pinch the scissors out. Only for left-handed. For right-handed, it stays in its regular orientation. Now, I don't have any issues with the lockup, don't have any issues with side to side, and the scissors function just fine. So I have a little piece of paper here. This is folded twice in 4 layers, and we'll open it up. 2 layer, and then single layer. You know, my fumbling hands is the only issue that we have. So I don't have any issues with the scissors functioning once I got it all put back together. Now, I will tell you that I did have a little bit of a trouble putting everything back together. The magnets actually kind of work against you as you're putting the tool back together. So there's a couple washers, and then all the implements, and then the spacer springs that you have to work together to get in there. It can be a little difficult, I guess would be the right word. But once I got everything put back together, I had to adjust the tension on the screw several different times until I got everything where I liked it, but was able to get them in that location, in that orientation, and they seem to work just fine. So now, because I'm not left-handed, what I want to do is I'm going to take this back apart so that we could take a little better look at the engineering, some of the spacer springs, how the lock mechanism works, and a couple of other things that I've learned about the Leatherman P4 by taking it apart. So when I come back, I will have everything open back up and spread out, and we'll talk about it a little more. So when I did my initial overview of the Leatherman P2 and P4, I had notated that there is quite a bit of handle flex in the Free Series tools, and I had attributed that to the elastomer bushing that is in the pliers to make that handle mechanism function. Well, now that I've taken the P4 apart on the back end, I kind of think I have a better grasp on what is actually going on. So I do believe that the elastomer spring, that flex, does or can be attributed to some of that handle play, but I believe that the rest of it is in the handles themselves. Now, the reason I say that is because if you look at the Leatherman Wave, for an example, it is a solid piece of metal that bends around and forms a single handle side. And it's actually quite a bit stronger because it has several different bends. And then the Leatherman rebar is also a single piece that gets stamped around. Now, they do have cutouts and stuff for the tool locks. Same thing with the Super Tool 300 and various other models of Leatherman. The P4 is one of the only ones that the handles are in 4 parts instead of 2 parts. So I think that movement actually has something to do with that handle flex as well. I had originally thought that the magnet here would be epoxied into the bottom of the handles, but I was incorrect. And I also believe that the lock mechanism was actually pressed into the side of the handles, but I was incorrect in that as well. So now I've taken it apart, I kind of want to give you a better look at the inside of the Free Series. So here are those spacer springs. You get a good idea of what those look like, and that little bar the two little nubs there, those actually seat around the magnet as it's set in the bottom there. Now, when I switch the scissors around, one thing that is very important to remember that you have to take care to make sure that you get it in right is the two protrusions on the torsion bar for the scissors have to be placed in those slots correctly. Otherwise, the torsion bar will not function correctly. So let me slide that over. And when you're putting it back together, you have to take care to get that, to make sure that that assembly stays together the way it's supposed to. And then the washer will go on the near side, on the handle side. So it can be a little tricky to get put back together, but I believe that if you put that back together and take good care to make sure that those pins stay in their position, and once you get it all put back together, take care to get it tensioned correctly, you can in fact make your Leatherman P4 ambidextrous. Well, this is been a little closer look at the inside of the Leatherman P4. My name is Ben. You've been watching the Texas Tool Crib. Hope you liked the video. If you do, please give me a thumbs up, and if you'll consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next one.